Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Raymore City Council work session for Monday, October the 20th, 2025. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and on today's agenda, we have three items: the snow plan, the capital improvement program for the budget and the capital improvement program, and just for discussion purposes, and the board and commission appointments that I have here to offer to you today. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Fearborn for the first item.
Thank you, sir. It is that time of year again, right before winter sets in, where we always like to outline the snow plan for you all, get any feedback that you might have. I know it's an annual deal. A lot doesn't change with it, but it's always a great refresher for everybody. And it also allows Mr. Pate to dress up for the particular evening presentation. It's the one time a year we get to see him like this. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Salisbury.
So I'm going to pass those down. Thank you very much, Mr. Fearborn. Kind of like he had said, there's not a whole lot of updates. We did change a few things with the policy. We'll run through. Oh, can you pass those that way? Included some statistics that we hadn't previously included, and then the major update is we kind of reworked the emergency snow routes to kind of try and update those. So we'll run through it and go from there. All right, so moving right along, snow shifts will still be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We'll have a day shift and a night shift, and then our operators will switch day and night, same as it's been for years, and that's been working well, so we'll keep with that. Moving forward on the weather forecasting, go ahead.
So the weather forecasting, we utilized our emergency management last year, and it worked really well for our communication. It was one source of information that we used. It was National Weather Service. It provided what we needed. We were able to get feedback from him on his connections, and we're going to use them again. So National Weather Service will be our forecasting that we'll use again this winter. The next thing is our pre-treatment procedure. So last year you guys approved the anti-ice spray systems. So we've got those in, haven't used them yet. Didn't get a chance to use them last year. So this year will be our first run with those. I don't want to say we're excited to use them because we're not excited to use them, but we do have them as our resource, and we are going to use them as one of our main tools for our pre-treatment before the snow starts. So we're hoping again that cuts down from 3 to 4 days of pre-treatment to 2.5 days of pre-treatment. So we're looking forward to speeding that process up.
Can you tell me what the substantial difference is between what you just described and what we were doing prior?
It's basically a time. So we would use smaller tanks, and we'd have to put them in our intermediate trucks. These are bigger tanks that go in our dump trucks. So we can be out on the road twice as long before we have to fill up. So we're looking at shrinking our time down for pre-treatment, getting in and out. They will still have to be pulled out of the trucks and into salt sand spreaders, put in the dump trucks. So we've got to just time everything right too. And that goes back to our emergency management, helping us get those times lined out.
Thank you.
Kind of too that the previous tanks held about 400 gallons. These hold 950, so more than double. Yeah.
On the pre-treatment, how long is it, when I see you put it down hours, sometimes even longer down, how does that last on the dry pavement? People are driving on it a lot before if we get any snow. Is there like a length of time that stuff's good for?
As long as you see it, it's still there. There's still that residual there. As you guys can tell, even after our snow events, for days, weeks, until we get rain, it's white. That's the residual. So that, even after a snow event, that salt that's still there is still helping us for the next event.
Okay.
So any residuals, it helps us create that buffer that we're looking for.
And it lasts longer on your less traveled roads. The more they get driven on, the more it does get beat off. But your residential roads will it'll stick around a little longer. It also depends on if it rains. So that kind of affects the pre-treatment window. So if we are expecting rain before a snowstorm, a lot of times they'll have to hold off a little bit longer. So there's a lot that goes into it, not just throwing down pre-treatment.
On the pre-treatment formula, has it changed over the course of, say, 5 to 10 years? I mean, we used to have just a pure saline solution, then they went to a beet. What is it now? What does it consist of?
So it's the same road salt that we put down is what we make our salt brine
Okay.
with. We've got a hydrometer and we measure it, and it's 26% salt is what it is. So what happens is when you put it on the road, the liquid evaporates and it leaves your salt on the road. So it extends our budget because we're using the same salt. So that instead of us having to throw regular road salt, we're able to use the pre-treatment as another tool in our,
Is that,
arsenal.
so is that formula prepared in a tank that is then put into the?
Yeah, so we make it
vehicle?
at the shop.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do it at the shop. We put our salt in, we add the water, it goes through the mixture, and then we pump it into another tank.
Gotcha.
And then we pump it into our trucks from there,
Okay,
so.
good to know. Thanks.
So in the next section, snow route priority, this is where one of the changes happened. So priority 1 is now only emergency snow routes. We felt that was the cleanest way to designate them from other collector style roads that aren't emergency snow routes. So we'll kind of dive into emergency snow routes here in a little bit, but that is one of the changes that we did make. Jumping ahead a little bit to the extreme cold policy, which is right after after the pictures, sorry. We added a definition to this area. So previously it was not defined what extreme cold was. We felt that was a little bit vague. So we added in the National Weather Service definition of what extreme cold is. That's kind of when we're gonna operate on having people in for just pure cold. And I guess the next section is yours.
Yeah, so we get a lot of complaints about the mailboxes once we plow. So we kind of want to address that a
We
little
get
bit.
a few too.
I get a new one every year.
Right? Unfortunately, it's gonna happen. There's no way for us to not damage mailboxes, but I hope everybody does understand, we're not actually hitting the mailboxes with the plows.
I saw that, I watched it. and
Yeah,
The truck's not even getting close to it.
Right.
The
It's-
stuff that's going.
it's the snow, it's heavy, it's wet, and, for us to clear the roads efficiently in the way we need to, there's an optimal speed we need to go to actually push it off the road, so it doesn't leave big balls of snow sitting in your driveway. We gotta go quick enough to spread that out, but unfortunately, those mailboxes, sometimes they take the brunt of it. We do have in our policy that, if we knock over a mailbox, we will make the repair on it. The only thing we could ask is if we're still in the middle of a snowstorm, we're not gonna pull off to get that mailbox fixed. So, I would just ask, if somebody gives you guys a call, just let them know to report it to Public Works. We'll put it on our list, and then once we get our snow taken care of, our storm taken care of, we'll be back and get those mailboxes taken care of. We might just put up a temporary mailbox for the time, and we're not gonna be able to dig holes and things like that with a bunch of snow on the ground, but we'll get a temporary put up so everybody can get their mail. So, but anybody has any questions with that can give Public Works a call or just let them know.
No, I just say, you guys do a great job on that. And one, there's a trade-off. I'd rather be on a road that is one of the cleanest roads in the city and lose a mailbox every now and then. But last year, like you said, I'd already put a hold on my mail, and the next thing I know, you guys are out there with a temporary mailbox.
Yeah.
That I didn't even know you were gonna do that. And that was nice, and, then when you got around it, fixed the other. So you guys are very responsive. If people just let the city know, you're
Sure.
responsive. But again, people have to understand there's a trade-off. If you want to live on a road that's going to be one of the first cleaned in the city and
Yeah.
a main road, you're going to have that little trade-off. But I appreciate your guys' responsiveness. You did a great job.
Well, thank you.
And it's definitely important to have people call down to Public Works. They try and note them as they do get hit, but when it's dark and snowing, sometimes it's really hard to actually note them yourselves. So we encourage people to actually call and report them to us so we can get those taken care of.
On that, it comes up every year, but when we have emergency snow routes, which we do, and there's signage, is there a percentage of all the cars that park usually had to be cleared off by so much snow? I don't know, probably Jim would answer that, but I'm not sure we still have something on snow routes.
We
Lot
are
of-
actually,
Yeah.
we're gonna be coming back to the council with the emergency snow route issue. If you paint the map with the number of streets that have emergency snow route signs on them, you cannot see the land underneath the map. We have emergency and different types. So we need to come back to the council and actually make the emergency snow routes again. There are a lot of roads that it makes no sense. We don't even know if they got to the council to be declared that. The signs are simply up. I've approved the uniform sign that we're gonna use moving forward, and will be, as we can, replacing those out. The emergency snow routes, while we really want people to get their cars off of those in the event of a snow, unless it is officially declared an emergency by the mayor, then people can still park on those. But we beg them to get off of them because they're emergency snow routes for a reason. But the mayor needs to declare it an emergency event for that to happen.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, is there a limit of snow we're getting that you might come to play for your decision on that?
It's their request.
Their request? Oh, okay.
If it gets as bad as it's necessary for them to plow that appropriately on the emergency snow routes, they'll let me know, make a suggestion. Mr. Dearborn and I will.
Mr. Fearborn and I will confer on that and move forward. I think I've only done it once. Mr. Baker?
Got it on. So, just out of curiosity, if we have an emergency snow route and emergency or is declared, a car's parked on it, is it just immediate tow, or do we try and contact by license plate?
We first try to contact, and then it's a tow, and a lot of times by then, the emergency is over. So it is kind of and we're really putting it on PD at a time when they're as stressed as these guys are. So
Yeah,
we haven't had to
have-
do it yet.
No,
but
in my 12 years as police chief, we maybe towed half a dozen cars throughout those 12 years. Doesn't happen that often. People are generally very obedient to get their car off the road if they're asked.
All right,
Trent.
so moving forward, if you go to the first page that has the Raymore Public Works header, it's zone and route lane mile statistics. That'll be kind of the next one.
So we just wanted to put everything together so you guys could see really how the city's split up. Zone 1 is everything north of 58 Highway. Zone 2 is everything 58 Highway to Lucy Webb, and Zone 3 is south of Lucy Webb. So if you look at that, we're really within 5 miles, road lane miles of each other. So that it's kind of hard to say every zone is going to get done the same way, because one zone might be more cul-de-sacs, which would take longer. So it doesn't really spell it out that everything's going to be done at the same time. But we just wanted to put something in front of you guys so you could see what our priorities are, how we've got it split up, and for the most part, everything's pretty equal. So we're pretty happy with how everything's set up for right now.
And then after that, we have the emergency snow routes, and we'll kind of expand on what Mr. Veerborn presented. So while I was doing my research on these, the original snow routes were brought to council in 1979. It's been updated 5 times since then, the latest being 2013. When we kind of saw 2013, we thought we should probably update, get these updated. So on this sheet, they're all listed out, but they are also reflected on the maps at the end by all of the red lines. We tried to basically make a large grid across town so that emergency services can get to all the different regions of the town. Obviously, if they have a specific area they need to get to for an emergency request, they work with our operators to get plowed to wherever they need to be. But the red lines on the maps and these streets that are listed out here would be our proposed new emergency snow routes. And really, other than that, we don't have anything else, but we're happy to answer any other questions that may come up.
Mr. Fearborn?
We do not have the roster for you all, the employee roster, as far as who's out there plowing. But for the first time this year, in a decade or more, every piece of snow and ice iron that we own can be fully utilized because we're fully staffed up at Public Works now. And of course, we have the Parks folks helping in their areas. Supplementing that, we have the engineering techs who are going to be using this year, but there will be no iron sitting at Public Works unless it is down this year. Everything will be out on the streets. Question. So for the big trucks, what is the height and width of the snow blade?
11 foot is the width,
And how high is it?
probably 30 inches.
Okay. That 11 feet, if you get the chance, and you can get to Public Works just while one of the trucks is parked there, when you're sitting in the cab of that truck, it is amazing what you can't see around one of those blades. And then, as Mr. Salisbury and Mr. Paith were describing, when it's 2 in the morning and the snow is coming down an inch an hour and it's pitch dark out, and you're trying to see 11 feet across and make that work, it is really an art and science what these guys do at night with those blades. It's incredible.
What about the monitoring, the GIS monitoring? You want to talk about that?
So we're still using Plow Ops this year. It's still going to be on our website. Nothing's really changed since last year from
Okay.
that one. Yep.
All right, all right, good. Mr.
Well,
Mills?
I get around a lot of different communities in the wintertime, and I tell you, there is no community does a better job of getting their streets plowed, and even when I'm talking about the subdivision streets and everything like that, than Raymore. I mean, that is the one thing that by head and shoulders, we are number one in the entire city, I mean, entire metro area, on how well, not just our main streets, but even all of our streets, we do an amazing job. And even the state, our little stretch through that part of 49 will be the best usually as you're driving 49. So it's just, that part, we're kind of blessed to be out here in the winter. When we're in the winter time, we do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody have, Mr. Baker?
Just, I guess, a general question for more understanding. On roads that we share, like with the county or another city, 155th, how, do we do both sides or do we just stay on our one side?
We'll do both. It's kind of like just a share. It's a handshake agreement. It's, our residents use the road as well. We're not gonna lift our blade to go down Kentucky if we gotta get there anyways. Belton's the same way. They don't lift their blade when they do it. MoDOT comes through on 58, their blades are down. We'll hit some areas that, to get us to our residential roads that could be county, we're gonna keep our blade down on those roads as well.
School Road to 195th is a good
That's
example.
a perfect example. We gotta get to 195th, we're gonna go ahead and plow to there.
And I take it North Cass Parkway, technically, that's not our jurisdiction on North Cass, like between 49 and Dean, but it's a
that is
emergency snow
correct.
route. Is we just taking over that because our
We're-
citizens are,
Yeah,
by the time MoDOT would get there,
Yeah.
could be too late. Okay.
We had a meeting with MoDOT probably 3 weeks ago now. Their plan is to continuously plow I-49 until it stops snowing, and then they'll worry about every other side highway. So we just took it on us to maintain what we consider a major route.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment, question? Yes.
Do you have any road striping scheduled between now and the upcoming winter season? There's 2 times when road striping is incredibly important to a driver, and that's during a driving rainstorm at night or a snowstorm. And if it's important to the drivers and the citizens, it's got to be important to your folks as well.
We do not have any road striping planned for the rest of this year.
It might be something to look at in our scheduling to enhance that right before you know you're going to need it. Just change. I don't. Not trying to tell you how how to do your business, but it might just be worthy of, if we needed an additional round or changing the scheduling, it might be worth consideration.
Our big issue on road striping is we try to do it right before school starts. So we're getting the crosswalks and for the buses, which we did complete, and we've changed on road striping to a night program. We do it all during the night now.
When you say that, I go way back to the night when Miss Hubach was sitting up here and asked us about striping. Can we have a paint that glows in the dark and sparkles? I remember that so vivid, so many years ago, but it was kind of what she was talking about. She wanted something to glow in the dark and sparkle on our roads so you could see it at night better. Yeah.
Anything else?
I would just say, we would encourage, if you guys ever want to take a ride-along at some point, feel free to reach out to Mr. Fearborn or Mr. Salisbury, and we'll get something set up if you guys ever want to do a ride-along. So,
There you go.
2 a.m. during a snowstorm at night.
There you go. All right. Do you pick up, or do we have to come to you?
we could probably do pickup. We can arrange that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
very much.
Thank you very much. Second item, I think you had some information with regard to item number 2 that you'd like to share.
Thank you, sir, for you and Councilmember Coleman. Might want to make you aware of the fact that the collector, Mr. Mollendorp, has now shared with us the impact on all the political subdivisions in Cass County of the senior tax credit. I've highlighted in green some of the ones that are of interest, the reduction in revenue, and then we're on the third page, on the third page highlighted in yellow. The amount for Raymore is, in reduction in revenue for the senior tax credit, is $139,670.58. The breakdown on that, that will mean a reduction in revenue in the general fund of $43,563, a reduction in revenue in the park fund of $11,718, and a reduction in the debt service fund of $94,388. The $139,670 was a little bit higher than what we had been estimating, but this year it is enough that the budget as presented can absorb those amounts, because we had anticipated it. About 6% higher. Interestingly enough, that number, when you look at Belton right above at the 92,546, for 2 cities that are relatively comparable in total population, that's quite a disparity in the amount. It is either our total assessed valuation is considerably higher, or they have considerably less senior citizens who can take advantage of the tax credit. I would imagine it's a little bit of a combination of both within there. So the general fund and the park fund, obviously, as we move forward, these amounts are going to continue to accelerate. The original months ago when we were talking about this and we had given you a schedule over 10 years, those amounts, the impact on the general fund and the park fund will be there. It will, in the future, more than likely lead to certain adjustments having to be made, certainly in expenses. The debt service fund is the one I want to focus on because obviously it is the largest percentage of our total property tax at 60.42%. It will have an impact over time. The issue with the senior tax credit is that it's, I call it basically kind of a double hit, because as you see on there, there is the pre-credit amount of total assessed valuation or revenue that could be collected. That amount of revenue is what the pre-credit is, the amount of revenue that our levy is based on. So as that goes up, if it goes up enough, then the levy is adjusted, lowered possibly, to reflect the higher amount of revenue, but we're actually not collecting that amount. Then the credit hits. So it's the equivalent of above the line, below the line when you're talking about taxes. So that's in play here. Over time, again, the debt service fund will be the one that will be more multifaceted. The contra revenue from an accounting standpoint in fund accounting, that's how we're gonna have to account for the credit. It's considered a contra revenue. It's a revenue that is factored in and then taken away later. It's going to impact several items within the debt service fund. One, our ability to actually make the debt service payments coming back will be impacted. The ability to go for future bond issuances will obviously be impacted because we won't be able to collect the same amount on future bond issuances unless those bond issuances are tax increase bond issuances. Now, the law is clear on existing bond issuances. And I'm gonna repeat some of this again because we have another issue coming up next April. With existing bond issuances, the law is clear. We have to collect, and we can collect without going to a vote of the people, however much we have to collect so that we do not default on our bond obligations and go into a default situation as a city. Which means if we're not collecting this amount and we need this amount for the bond issuances, we have to raise the levy to meet that obligation so we don't go into the default. Any questions on that? Sir?
So when you say raise the levy, you can't just raise it from the debt service. You would have to raise the levy, which would impact the other two funds as well, as collecting
sir.
more, or do you just
Debt
keep it
service,
as a debt
yeah,
service?
debt
line?
service is considered
Just
separate. It's not
separate
subject to
levy. Okay.
Hancock. Right. Any questions so far? So what I want to bring up, the council is very well aware of this, special session SB 3 is currently challenged, but right now it would be scheduled and would be required to be on the ballot in April, no later than April, which would apply the senior tax credit in Cass County in full across every real property that exists, residential real property that exists. That will be significant. It will, I mean, you're putting a tax freeze and decrease on the ballot. It's gonna pass if it's out there. There are currently two challenges to it. One is Moon, Wolfen, Calzone versus State of Missouri. That's Senator Moon and two state representatives, or one state representative, Wolfen, a citizen activist, Calzone. They are claiming that the entirety of SB 3, which included the stadium issue, the disaster relief issue, and this issue, are unconstitutional because you're putting three different issues on. The problem with this particular lawsuit is, and it's gonna have a hearing probably in the next month, there's the question of standing. Do those three individuals have standing where they can legally bring the issue forward? The second one is Kirkhofer versus Missouri. That is 6 school districts, 1 citizen activist, 2 citizen activists, and 1 fire district have filed that particular one. A lot of amicus with that one from other school districts. Grandview is one of the original school districts on that, several other rural school districts. That one will probably be the one that everybody latches onto and is going to be following very closely moving forward. But if it doesn't get resolved before April, this issue will be on the ballot. We had kind of shared the impacts of that with you all. Would go into effect for fiscal year 2027, and we would most certainly have to deal with it pretty much head on. That particular issue, if it came on, the same thing passed in Indiana last year. Standard, and it brings another factor into all of this. In addition to the issues with the debt service fund that I have outlined, both Standard & Poor's and Moody's have informed the state of Indiana that the state credit rating as well as all local credit ratings will go down. And the primary reason for that is the uncertainty that is associated, especially in the near term, with who's going to file for the credit, how much is that going to be. We didn't know this one until, you can see the date on this, October 8th. And we've known it was going to happen for over a year now. And so now we're just now finally seeing the numbers. Obviously, Raymore Peculiar School District and Belton School Districts are the 2 big users of the tax that are going to be losing the largest amounts of money. Have had a lot of conversations with them, both about this and SB 3. Happy to answer any questions.
I was curious whether, I've seen a lot of properties being switched over to trusts. We did that with ours, and then it's really a pain to go and get your license and everything fixed when it's in a trust. But is it the age of the person that made the trust?
Primary residence, sir.
Primary resident, okay. So it doesn't make a difference. All right, thanks.
You have to
But
own the
you-
property and you have to be the primary resident.
But you have to bring all your trust documents and everything, because they have to actually see the actual, how the trust is. So it's a little bit more work, but you still can get that credit, but it's a little more work.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, anything else, Jim?
That's all, sir.
Okay. Next item is, we have 2 alternate positions that are open on the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Mr. Burke, if you'd pass those over. Thank you. Those were suggested to me and were vetted by the Community Development Director. And he and I sat and spoke about his interviews with them. And so I'll be proposing those at the next council meeting for appointment to those alternate positions. And they generally sit in on the meeting but don't vote unless there's a lack of a quorum, correct? Okay. All right. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, okay? And with that, is there anything under other that we want to discuss this evening? I know we went past item B, budget and capital, but we've already had the first reading on that. Mr. Fearborn was just wanting to bring us up to date on the particular effects of the tax cut. Okay? Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
You want that back? That back?